Hi there, it's Christina from Blossom and Root. Today I'm going to share with you all of my homeschool curriculum choices for my oldest daughter who will be going into 6th grade this coming year. All right, let's get started and kick things off with language arts. We spent the last 2 years going through Blossom and Root Level 4, Heroes and Myths, with my oldest daughter for her 4th and 5th grade years, and we're finally ready to move on to Blossom and Root Level 5, The Stories We Carry, which features lots of excellent books that I'm really excited to read with her. It also has weekly journal prompts, literature projects, elements of story lessons, reading passages, copywork and grammar lessons, dictation exercises, vocabulary exercises, narration, geography enrichment, and so much more. That was the parent guide or the main lesson guide that I just flipped through, and now I'm showing you some pages from the student notebook. Please note that you can go to our website, www.blossomandroot.com, to see samples of this curriculum and all of our other curricula. And I will also link below to some flip-throughs that are a little bit more in-depth for our Level 5 materials. Those are from Arlene at Arlene and Company's YouTube channel, and she does a lot of really great flip-throughs of Blossom and Root products if you're ever curious and trying to find some more in-depth looks at our curricula. That's a great place to go. Level 5 also contains the Stories We Carry's super secret notebook project, which is a continuation of the project from Level 4. All new projects in this level, though. So every week you have a prompt to kind of warm up and wake up your brain. It's a bit of an art journal prompt and also like a writing prompt to get you going. And then you'll have the main lesson prompt for the week. Prompts include narrative writing, procedural writing, persuasive and opinion writing, descriptive writing, research and informative writing, communicative writing, fiction, and poetry. I'm just going to take a minute and show you all of the wonderful books we'll be reading this year for the main literature from the curriculum. In addition to all of those literature selections that I just showed you, we also have poetry selections included in the curriculum. Finally, I'm going to show you just a handful of the supplementary books that are optionally recommended in the curriculum as well. A lot of these go a bit deeper into some of the social studies themes. A few of them feature science themes, but they're all meant to complement the subjects in the literature selections, and we use them to add a little bit extra to our homeschool, especially in social studies content. All right, let's jump into math next. For math, we've decided to stick with Right Start Mathematics because this curriculum has worked so well for my oldest daughter. She absolutely loves it. We switched to it, I think it was toward the end of her 2nd grade year, and we haven't looked back. It's been an excellent fit for her. She loves all the games that we play. I love the tactile approach to the concepts that they learn in this curriculum. We are not going to switch away from this anytime in the near future. All right, let's jump into science next. I'm so excited to show you what we're going to be using. At the end of the last school year, I sat down one-on-one with my daughters and asked them to tell me what they really wanted to learn about in the coming year. And my oldest daughter said she really wants to focus on a veterinary career. She wants to be a vet when she grows up. She's said that for years and years and years now, and it's not going away. It's only getting stronger as she gets older. And she told me she's really ready to tackle anatomy and veterinary science this year, and she wants to have that be her only focus for science. So for the first time ever, I'm going to actually be doing 2 different sciences with my daughters separately. And this is new territory for me because we've always done science all together as a family subject. And it'll be the first time that I'm doing them one-on-one with my girls on their own. So I'm really excited actually. I think they're really ready for that this year. They're very different kinds of learners. They kind of gravitate toward different approaches. So I'm eager to be able to go deeper and give them what they are each needing and what they're each mostly interested in. So my youngest chose physics and my oldest chose anatomy. So ironically, we're using the same curriculum for both of them. We're going to be using Wonders of the Physical World, which is our level 4 science. For both girls, it's just that my youngest will be doing the first 18 units, which focus on physics, and my oldest will be doing the second 18 units, which focuses on anatomy. So we're going to go deep into anatomy using Wonders of the Physical World from Blossom and Root as our main curriculum. But I'm going to show you a couple other things we're going to be using as well. Last year, we pulled from several different resources to do our science. We pulled from Level 5 Oceanography. We did a few units from that. We did the engineering units from Wonders of the Physical World, kind of as their own separate unit study. And we did a unit on the senses from Wonders of the Physical World's Anatomy Wonders. So we already are familiar with this curriculum. It gave them a taste of both sides of it. And I think that may be one of the reasons they chose the paths they chose this year. The Fantastic Body is one of the main spines we use alongside Wonders of the Physical World for the anatomy unit. It's a great book with lots of colorful visuals and a lot of really good explanations about how things work. And I'm really looking forward to taking our time. DK Smithsonian's Human Body is another one of the spines we'll be using. This one's more for visual purposes. There's some really excellent visuals in this book that really bring things to life. These are the two main books we'll be using for the curriculum this year. The Hugh Manual by Operation Ouch, which is an excellent YouTube channel, is also recommended in Wonders of the Physical World as a spine, but I'm going to be assigning this one to Blake for independent reading in between lessons. The last spine we're going to be playing with is The How and Wow of the Human Body by Wow in the World. This is actually a pretty new book that wasn't out when I wrote the curriculum. I ordered this one a while back, and I'm really excited to take a deeper look this year as we're going through Wonders of the Physical World. I'm considering adding it in as a spine in the next revision. Because we're going to be taking an entire year to cover 18 wonders and can go much deeper, and because my daughter is going to be going into 6th grade this year and I want to make things a little more challenging, I'm also adding in a couple of anatomy coloring books for extra review and practice. This one's really great, by the way. And to tie in that little extra veterinary science bit, I grabbed a dog anatomy coloring book as well. This publisher makes a whole bunch of different animal coloring books. Over the years, I've been collecting a bunch of different resources to add to our anatomy unit. I'm really excited to finally get to use them. I didn't pull them all out for this video because they were quite a lot, but I've grabbed these from a bunch of different places over the years, including Carolina Biological Supply, Home Science Tools, Amazon, Rainbow Resource. Those are all online, and they have lots of different modeling kits and things that you can grab. I got some slides to look at under our microscope, a card game, a bunch of anatomy models of different things like the torso and the heart, and I think I have one for like the skin, and oh, I have like a pregnant torso one. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of things in that basket. I also grabbed this great kit. It's just a bunch of x-rays. So standalone, that's pretty neat, but you can also put them together to create a whole entire human skeleton, which is really cool. So that's another little thing I had grabbed. And I also hope to plan several field trips. I want to hit a couple of veterinary offices, the zoo, some local farms, and hopefully a doctor's office. My husband's best friend is a doctor, and I'm hoping maybe we can have a field trip to his office as well so he can talk to my oldest daughter in person and show her some really cool things as well. So it's going to be a great year. And now I'm going to show you what we're going to use for the veterinary science component as the main spine. If you're not familiar with 4-H, it's a great club, but they also have a website with a store online, and the store has tons of different activity guides and curricula that you can use as a supplement in your homeschool if you want to. They're pretty affordable, and these guides are fantastic. I found the veterinary science pack on their store, and I went ahead and ordered all four of the resources that they had. But we're only going to be diving into the two that I'm showing you here. These are the level 1 veterinary science project activity guide for grades 3 to 5, and the level 2 guide for grades 6 to 8. And I think each guide has 14 different projects in them. I'm not going to I'm not going to expect my oldest daughter to get through all 14 projects from both guides. I'm going to let her pick and choose, but I will encourage her to pick at least 8 projects from each guide to complete over the next 1 to 2 years. Some of these projects are really quick and won't take her very long, but other ones are much deeper and more in depth and will require research and field trips and things like that. But I'm really, really excited to use these this year. Now let's take a look at what we're going to be using for world history. For world history, we'll be using Curiosity Chronicles, Snapshots of Medieval History as our main spine. We used their snapshots of ancient history last year and we enjoyed it so much. We used the audiobook because it's kind of a weird format, for me at least, to read out loud myself because it's in dialogue format. So I really prefer to use the audio book for us to listen to, but the book itself is gorgeous. There are tons of beautiful images in it, lots of maps and pictures of art and things like that. So I like to have the book on hand as well so we can look at all the beautiful images while we're listening to the audiobook. So this is going to be our main spine for world history this year. Additionally, because we really, really love history, we're going to be using History Quest Middle Times. We've got the audiobook version of the book. I don't have the physical book for that one. We're just going to be listening to the audiobook. And we're going to use the study guide as well. I really do like the History Quest study guides. I like the way they're formatted. I love their discussion questions and like the main points that they point out. And I really do like a lot of the activities. So we're going to be using this kind of as a supplement to Curiosity Chronicles. And I think they do really work well together, especially for families that love history. We're also going to be using the Usborne Encyclopedia of World History as well. I think it was in the Curiosity Chronicles group on Facebook, like the parent group on Facebook, but somebody had made a calendar that combines History Quest Middle Times and Curiosity Chronicles Medieval History into one schedule. And that's the schedule I'm basically going off of to combine these two curricula together this year. And of course, I operate under the understanding that we probably won't finish all of this in one school year, and that's completely fine with me. I don't mind if it takes us longer than a school year to finish it. Finally, we're going to be using School Nest notebooks for our history notebook and for our history timeline. We used School Nest notebooks this last year, and they've held up beautifully. I love the open-ended format of them, and they're a great place to document all of our learning in one spot. Let's take a really quick look at our U.S. history selection as well. We will start weaving in lessons from Blossom and Roots, A River of Voices, Volume 1, and then later Volume 2. Once we get to the Age of Exploration in medieval history. So I really prefer a chronological approach to history, but I feel like it's important to have a strong emphasis on both world history and US history in our homeschool. So we're just going to start weaving in the River of Voices lessons where they make sense once we get to that part of the historical timeline in our world history curriculum. Now I'm going to share with you what we are going to be using for art this coming year. This year, we're going to be tackling 9 Profiles in Art, Volume 2 from Blossom and Roots, Level 5. We just wrapped up the last couple of artists from Volume 1, and we're really excited to get into this next volume. There's actually 10 artists profiled in this. I don't know if we'll get through all of them this coming year. There is a pretty wide variety of different things we'll be doing, including collage and sculpture and photography and painting, ink. It's going to be a lot of fun. And it's one of the things that my daughters look forward to most every single week. All right, let's take a peek at nature study. For nature study, we're going to be using the Art of Observation from Blossom and Root Level 5. And just like art, this is going to be a family subject that I do with both of my daughters at the same time. This particular nature study curriculum focuses on water, weather, and the celestial sphere. And it also focuses a lot on nature journaling and recording what we observe. It's organized into 4 seasons with prompts for 3 months, all 3 months of each season. And it's really open ended. So you don't have to do it in order. You can pick and choose your prompts for what works for you at the time. And that is the way we like to approach nature study. We don't necessarily approach it with a really strict schedule. We ebb and flow. Sometimes we do a lot of prompts all in one week, and sometimes we don't do any because we want to go on a different field trip. So we keep things really open ended for nature study, and I'm really looking forward to tackling this curriculum with my girls. Okay, let's talk about life skills and growth mindset in the 6th grade year. Even though we include a lot of life skills naturally in our day to day lives and in our homeschool, I always kind of pick an intentional focus that I want to use for the year when it comes to life skills for my daughters. For my oldest daughter, those skills that we're going to focus on this year are going to be cooking, meal planning, finance, time management, and growth mindset. I just have a handful of things I'm pulling from here, nothing for cooking or meal planning because I feel like that's just part of our family culture, and I don't need a curriculum or anything like that. For finance, we're using the Usborne Money for Beginners book for the next 3 years. So I'll pull from that over the next 3 years with her to learn more about finance. It's a great book. And for time management, I'm just going to be coaching her as she's taking on more independent work this year than she has in the past. And she's learning how to find what works best for her when it comes to time management. And then finally, for growth mindset, I'm going to be pulling from some printables I purchased on the Big Life Journal website that focus on resilience and gratitude. So that's where we are with life skills for the 6th grade year. Finally, let's talk about extracurricular activities. So, beyond our normal homeschool group meetups that we do locally, we also are going to keep doing horseback riding, which my oldest daughter has been doing for the last 6 years and has no plans of stopping anytime in the near future, especially with her animal obsession. And then also, this past month, I signed her up for a aerial yoga class. She really enjoyed it and she wanted to do more. So I found a local studio that does aerial acrobatics with the silks and the hoops and things like that. And she just absolutely loved it. So they have a homeschool class once a week. We're already doing it this summer and plan to continue it into the fall. So that's pretty much it when it comes to her extracurriculars right now: the horseback riding, the aerial acrobatics class, and all our normal homeschool meetup events with our local groups. There are several homeschool groups we're part of locally. So we always look forward to seeing our friends at those. I feel like that was a lot of talking, but I hope it was helpful for those of you out there that are out planning your homeschool years ahead of you, and especially for families that are planning out middle school curriculum for the year, because I feel like there's just maybe not as much content out there for the middle school years right now, although I feel like that's starting to change, which is really cool. But I hope this video is helpful. If you want to see samples of any of the Blossom and Root curricula I talked about, you can go to www.blossomandroot.com and find samples and information, scope and sequences, things like that on our website, as well as a contact form where you can reach me if you have any questions. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a beautiful day out there in the big wide world. Bye.